Your dog knows you're coming before it sees you, not because of sound, because your scent activates a specific reward circuit in its brain before you've even walked through the door. Researchers put dogs in fMRI scanners and presented them with 5 scents: a familiar human, an unfamiliar human, a familiar dog, an unfamiliar dog, and their own scent. Only one of the 5 activated the caudate nucleus, the brain's reward anticipation center, the familiar human. Every time. The caudate nucleus is a structure deep in the brain that fires when you anticipate something rewarding. In humans, it activates for food, money, the face of someone you love. It doesn't fire for things the brain is neutral about. It fires for things the brain has categorized as worth wanting. The olfactory bulb, the part of the brain that processes smell, activated equally to all 5 scents. Every scent registered. But the caudate, the part that assigns value, only responded to one. In a dog's brain, the scent of its owner activates the reward circuit more strongly than anything else the researchers tested, more than the scent of food, more than the scent of another dog it lives with, more than its own smell. The brain had already decided. The owner is the highest value signal in the dog's sensory environment. This research came out of a lab at Emory University, led by a neuroscientist named Gregory Berns. What made it unusual wasn't just the finding, it was how they got there. Prior to Berns' work, every brain imaging study ever conducted on a living dog had been done under sedation. The dog was unconscious. You couldn't study what a dog's brain does when it sees its owner, because the dog had to be put under before it would hold still long enough to scan. The machine is loud. The space is confined. The scan requires complete stillness for several minutes. No dog would voluntarily do that without training. Berns spent months training dogs, starting with his own adopted terrier, Callie, to voluntarily enter an fMRI scanner, lie completely still during the scan, and exit calmly. Awake, unrestrained, no sedation. The dog chose to be there each time. What began with 2 dogs eventually expanded into what Berns called the Dog Project at Emory, a systematic effort to use brain imaging to understand what dogs actually experience, rather than inferring it from behavior alone. That detail matters because it changes what the data means. A sedated brain is not a responding brain. The activation Berns recorded, the caudate lighting up, the reward circuit firing, was happening in a conscious, willing animal, in real time, in response to a real stimulus. The scan was reading something that was actually occurring, not an artifact of the experimental conditions, not a side effect of anesthesia. The dog was present, and the brain was doing something. A follow-up study pushed the finding further. Researchers presented dogs with signals that predicted either food or praise from their owner, not the food or praise itself, just the signal that one was coming. A hand gesture for food, a different gesture for the owner's voice and attention. In 13 of the 15 dogs tested, the caudate activated equally or more strongly to the signal for praise than to the signal for food. Not in all dogs there was genuine individual variation, and across the full group the average difference between the two was not statistically significant. But in most of the dogs tested, the anticipation of their owner's voice and attention produced a reward response in the brain that was at least as strong as the anticipation of eating. The researchers confirmed the finding behaviorally in a Y-maze choice test. Dogs given the option to approach either food or their owner made choices that matched their brain's caudate activation pattern. The scan predicted what the dog would actually choose. The brain doesn't activate the reward circuit for things it's indifferent to. What the caudate data is showing, as precisely as brain imaging can show anything, is that the owner registers in the dog's brain as a high-value reward, not a tool for getting food, not a conditioned association that would dissolve if the food stopped, but a source of value in its own right. Whether that constitutes love in the way humans mean the word is a question the data can't fully answer. The caudate can tell you that the brain is anticipating something it wants. It can't tell you what that wanting feels like from the inside. What it can tell you is this: when your dog hears your car in the driveway, or catches your scent through a gap in the door, or sees you at the end of the street, a specific structure in its brain activates. The same structure that fires in your brain when you anticipate something you genuinely want. The scan doesn't know the difference between a dog and a human. It just reads what the brain is doing. And what your dog's brain is doing when it knows you're coming is the same thing your brain does when something you actually want is about to arrive. If this is the kind of science you want more of, Something Stirs covers exactly this new video every week. Subscribing means you'll actually see the next one.